What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here, still in Lisbon this morning, trying to delve deep into what happened last night. Obviously, we lost 2-0 to Sporting Lisbon in our second game in the Champions League. I mean, there's been a lot said this morning, last night, about Spurs, about where we're going, about Antonio Conte, about the players that we've got, about the transfer window. I mean, everything's been coming out over the last 24 hours.
First loss of the season, all of a sudden it all comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, you gotta look at the bigger picture here at the moment. We'll get into the game in a second, but as much as it was a poor performance last night and we lost 2-0, as much as that we haven't been playing well all season and getting results, I think that the team is going somewhere, and I think we're still on the right path here. And I think Spurs fans just need to be a bit more calmer and patient about things at the moment.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to see that sometimes after a loss and you think everything's shit. You know, Emerson. I guess the main frustration you got to say is that it's the same problems as last season, and the same things that we wanted being addressed from last season are still our main issues. Right wing back, still nothing happening going forward there, and then he was all at sea for the goal as well. So then,
yeah, with the right back situation though, isn't that on Conte? I mean, isn't he being a bit too stubborn here? He's got Matt Doherty on the bench. He's got Jed Spence in that's coming over the summer, and he's persisting with Emerson.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are saying. I don't think Conte has to take responsibility for that. He's been willing to interchange Sessegnon and Perisic, and if he's going to be stubborn about anyone, you would expect it to be someone like Perisic. I'm having him in my starting 11, I don't care, because he's his player. Especially when you've got someone like Emerson, who we all know we don't think he was a massive fan of him last season. So for the fact that he's persisting with him every single game, he's played every game, right, this season. He hasn't missed a game. Why that's the case? Like for someone like Son or Kane, you can understand it. But for someone like Emerson, I just don't understand it whatsoever. Why he's not giving Spence or Doherty a run. Look, if you don't think Spence is ready, I get that, and I think it's a bit harsh not to at least give him some minutes, but whatever. But you got Doherty there. Whether it's a case of him not being fully fit, maybe doesn't trust him yet. But I think this maybe just goes back to the stubbornness of Conte, and that's probably one of his biggest weaknesses. It's how stubborn he is, and I think it is on him, the fact that Emerson is playing every game, and we know what he gives, we know what he's like, so this isn't a surprise to anyone.
Look, I actually, I think Emerson did have a bad performance yesterday, but I think for the most part this season he's been all right. I mean, he hasn't been unbelievable, but defensively he's been solid for most part this season. But we all know what we're going to get with him going forward, and that's just what it is with Emerson, isn't it?
Yeah, he's been all right for what he is, and for what he is a good fullback who's pretty good defensively and got good energy and good physicality, but offers like next to nothing going forward, and that's just reality. Whenever you get, how many times we're attacking in space, and then the ball finds its way to Emerson, and then the move breaks down, or nothing comes of it. It happens way too often, and that is just the reality when it comes to Emerson Royale. And yesterday, it was just chalk and cheese in our wing backs. You saw Perisic providing all the danger, all the width on the left-hand side, and Emerson on the other side just not providing anywhere near that level of attacking ability. And imagine we had two kind of wing backs providing that kind of threat. It would make us a different level of prospect. And right now they know they can allow Emerson to have the ball, and they're under little to no danger really most of the time, and that's the biggest disappointment. But look, it wasn't just down to Emerson, our defeat, but he's just one thing people can look at and see an issue that's still present, a long-term issue.
Yeah, look, I've defended Emerson for the most part. I think he has been gradually getting better. I think last night was definitely a very bad performance. But on the flip side of that, it's what I said all summer, is that we need two players on the wing-backs that are going to provide what Conte wants in a wing-back system. And Emerson just doesn't do that, unfortunately. I think he's all right when he's looking good defensively. Going forward, he just lacks everything that he needs to be a good wing back in a Conte system. But look, let's get on to the game. It was a weird one because first 10 minutes I thought we came out of the blocks well. First 10 minutes of the second half I thought we came out of the blocks well. But Sporting Lisbon really, I mean, especially Marcus Edwards, were running ringers around us at times.
At times, yeah. I think by and large, we had the game fairly under control, in my opinion. I didn't think we were under too much danger, but there were times, and we spoke about it in the preview, if Marcus Edwards ever does get in a one-on-one situations with Dyer, we were hoping that wouldn't be the case, but if he did, I would worry about it. And you know what he did, and every time he did, he absolutely ran. He was he couldn't handle him, Eric Dyer. He was trying to press him, he was trying to get near him, and he was getting around him it happened a few, I wouldn't say every time, but it happened a few times. And it was very impressive by Marcus Edwards. It showed a lot of maturity to be able to play that false 9 position the way he did. I thought he had a really good game. But it only really happened right at the end of the first half, happened once, and then right at the end of the game, it happened again. So I wouldn't say it was a constant theme throughout the game, but it happened in 2 moments where pretty much did prove costly in the end. And Lloris bailed us out a couple of times, but he couldn't bail us out right at the end. But it wasn't a game where I saw major jeopardy, but then again, it wasn't a game where we caused them much problems as well. I think, our best chance was probably Richarlison had an offside. Emerson had a chance at the back post, which forced a save from the keeper. Our best moves will come from Perisic, which is coming a bit of a theme sometimes in our weaker performances. Perisic at least is providing something from the wing, and he did provide some really good crosses. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the most of them. But it was just one of those. It was a bit of a drab game. It was very much a European game. Very much each side not wanting to give away too much. And I think a lot of the times we've had games like that this season where we've offered little but not given much away. But this time, instead of a full set piece going in our favour, or we had a red card against Marseille, things like that going in our favour, it went against us this time. And it is important to know it was a 90th minute goal, so it was very, very late on. We could have easily got a point, but then again, conceded a second straight away, didn't we? So that I guess that kind of made, I think the scoreline 2-0 definitely flatters Sporting a bit. I don't think it was a 2-goal game, but when you leave the game open like that and you leave it a 0-0 and you don't take full advantage of your control in the game, you only get what you reap what you sow, basically. And if it was always likely when you're playing, especially in Champions League with good players, that a set piece or something can go against you, and if you're not going to take full advantage of your chances, that's always likely to happen.
But I'm sorry, the defending on that set piece for the first one, the guy is on the front post, completely unmarked. I mean, there's about 2 Lisbon players there, 3 Spurs players, all standing behind and not reacting whatsoever. The defending for the second goal as well, Romero and Emerson Royale, especially Emerson. I mean, ball goes through his legs, nutmegged. I mean, you've got to manage games better than that. You can't be defending like that in the last 10 minutes when it's 0-0. At any time, to be honest. The defending was absolutely shocking, and Spurs in that last 10 minutes were completely out at sea. And look, I get your point saying that Spurs did have quite a bit of control in the game, but ultimately the best chances did fall to Sporting Lisbon. Lloris made the best saves of the game, and really good saves at that. That save in the first half from Marcus Edwards was a brilliant save. I don't know who the second one in the second half with that curling effort, Pedro Porro. So as much as we had control in that game, we didn't test their keeper enough. We let them test our keeper way too much, and the defending for the goals was nowhere near good enough.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's nothing else we can say. So on that basis, you can't have too many complaints with a defeat, and I don't think we can. I don't think there's one thing, saying we didn't, we didn't deserve to lose. But when your Lloris is the busier keeper, then you can't have any complaints really about you ended up on the losing side. I think Sporting defended really well throughout the game, to be fair to them, but it was just a lethargic performance from Spurs. It just wasn't really our sharpest. We weren't playing around their press way enough. It was too easy for them to control the game, to keep us at arm's length. And they wouldn't have. They haven't come out of that game thinking what a difficult game that was. We just about kept them out. It was too easy for them to keep us out, and that's the frustrating thing.
I think the fans, the Sporting fans especially, probably come away from that game thinking how easy it was against us, to be honest, because it wasn't a hard game for them. I mean, we hardly tested them, and what do we do in these situations? Because it's happened so often. Luckily, we've got out of jail a bit where we're getting results, we're not playing well. It came to I wouldn't say came to a head, but we finally lost when we're not playing well. Maybe some fans would say it's been coming to us over the past couple of weeks. But Conte doesn't do anything in the game to change it. I mean, he brings on Kulusevski, and that's the only change he made throughout the game. I mean, why not take off Emerson? Why not even bring on, when he brought on Kulusevski, take off Emerson, leave Sonny on the pitch, and go hell for leather and try win that game?
Next, he's stubborn. And that's one of his biggest weaknesses, is his stubbornness. And I think as well, a lot of it in these kind of games, especially in tough European away games, he doesn't want to destroy the balance of the team. And he knows that during the game, as much as we're not testing their keeper enough, throughout most of that game, we were having a bit of possession and control. And then, to be honest, I'm going to be honest, in that for a large part of the second half, up until maybe the last 15 minutes, if anyone looked more likely to score, it was Tottenham. So you can't deny. I don't think anyone can deny that. We were the team pushing for especially in the second half. We were more likely to score. So I'm guessing he doesn't want to go gung ho and then leave us exposed to a counter and lose balance of the team. When we're not losing, I think that's been a theme with Conte. Unless we really needed a win from a drawing situation, he will rather, like for example Marseille, they're down to 10 men, we can throw some caution to the wind. So he brings on Kulusevski, plays 4 strikers. Chelsea away, we're losing 2-1, or sorry, losing 1-0. He can throw a bit of caution to the wind, brings on another striker, brings on 4 strikers. But all the time, most of the time, when we're drawing, for example, when we played Brighton at home last season, we played Brentford away, he didn't change it, and it's because I think he prefers to keep the structure and rely on our quality in individual moments rather than go gung-ho and try all out to get 3 points at risk of losing that point. And I think, whether you agree with him or not, that's just the case I find with Conte. And you could say that's a weakness. He might say it's a strength in terms of, we might pick up more points from those positions.
Time will tell.
Yeah, but I think in this day and age, when you've got managers like Klopp and Guardiola, who in those situations they will go gung-ho, and more often than not, they might lose a game, but they'll probably win 3 or 4 extra ones because of it. And maybe that's something Conte has to think about when in these kind of games, whether to do a bit more tinkering, be a bit more imaginative in his game management, because sometimes it can be a bit predictable, and that's something he's got to think about. And also, I would consider occasionally going to 3 in the middle, because I think that's a problem that as well is
we're constantly in games getting outnumbered in midfield constantly, and we're finding it hard to get around that.
100%. And
it happened last season. This was from last season as well.
And I think that's definitely a problem in Europe. I think there's a bit of a reason why he has struggled in Europe a lot as well. Is because sometimes he can be outnumbered. He can have that formation, can struggle against teams who like to play the ball a lot, and you can struggle to get near them, and that's happened a few times already in his career. So, yeah, I think yesterday was a warning sign for sure. It was a poor result and a poor performance, but hopefully we'll learn from it, and hopefully Conte will learn from it. And look, we're still unbeaten in the league, so look, no need to be panic stations or anything, but I think that there's definitely lessons to be learned.
Absolutely, but Conte aside, this does carry on a very, very bad theme in Europe. Pretty much ever since Martin Jol got us back into Europe against that, right at the beginning, we've had a terrible, terrible away record in Europe. I mean, I've got it in front of me, our last six losses, our last 6 away games in Europe. We lost 2-0 to Sporting, lost 2-1 to Mura, lost 1-0 to Vitesse, drew 2-2 to Rennes, lost 1-0 to Passos, and lost 3-0 to Dynamo Zagreb. I mean, I know we weren't in a good stage for many of these games, but still, like the teams that we're playing there, it's a disgrace, really, our away record in Europe.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can put a bit of it down to Conte, I guess, because he lost to Mura and he's lost now, but I wouldn't put. You can't. It's not so much.
It's a Tottenham thing. I wouldn't put it on Conte.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you call it a theme. I guess you can. I think even before those, you probably look at our way. European record is not great either. But look, to be fair, Champions League, that's the pinnacle, isn't it? But then again, these are Europa League, Conference League games, so there's definitely a problem in terms of when we travel to Europe. It's a mentality issue, maybe. Maybe we get overawed in the away crowds. I don't know, the home crowds. I don't know what it is. Why we have such bad performances away in Europe, but it definitely is a theme. That's for sure of late, and that's something we have to address.
Yeah, and finally, just to close off the review, I mean, in the Champions League group now, 1-1, lost 1. They're sitting top of the group, Sporting Lisbon with 6 points. Frankfurt won yesterday against Marseille. So would you say that, we win our home games, we should qualify from this group?
Yeah, look, we're still in a good position to qualify. I wouldn't say it's in jeopardy just because of a loss. Obviously, it's in more jeopardy, but we're still in a good position. We've got a double here against Frankfurt now. Hopefully, we can at least get 4 points out of those 2 games. That'll put us in a good position. And then, we win our next 2 home games, 9 points. You probably need another draw in the other game, one of the away games, and you'll be all right. Does put the top of the group in a bit of jeopardy, definitely. But if we can beat Sporting at home, then that cancels it out. And I'm sure, I don't see Sporting going on a winning run. I think they'll drop points in their next two.
Impressive so far, though. 3-0 against Frankfurt, 2-0 against us. Haven't conceded a goal yet. Yeah. They play Marseille up next, who have lost 2 games.
Yeah, I know. But then, look, I saw enough weakness yesterday from them to suggest they're going to drop points. Look, let's be honest, as much as they got the win, it wasn't exactly like... They got a last-minute corner, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they were unbelievable. They were there for the taking, and then I don't see them as some brilliant team who's just going to win every game. I know they've won 2, it's a good start, but they're not going to win every game. They'll drop points. So I think for me, top of the group is still up for grabs.
Well, there you have it. That is our thoughts on the 2-0 loss out in Lisbon last night in the Champions League. We'll see you all. Next up is player ratings. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.